So some knowledge I have gathered in this area, and I hope I may be useful to you. So over to participants, and actually I will like you to be more interactive. Like it's an interactive session. So please, turn on your video and let's talk, face to face. That's more better. You can speak, right? I think, Mr. Karthik. I think you are putting something in the chat window. Yeah. So basically, you are asking that when the middle class people will be able to own an electric vehicle. So it see, yeah, it's a costly affair if you are not getting subsidy from the government. So let's say when we talk about Delhi government, actually in Delhi, actually we have a considerable problem of air pollution. So what government has decided is like it has a EV policy. So EV policy actually uh, you know helps in two ways. First, it is helping the companies who are investing on research on two wheelers, and actually especially in Delhi there's a lot of three wheeler companies like e-rickshaw and all that. And so I can see a lot of companies are taking interest in developing these things. So first of all, it's a help to them. So why they will produce it if no buyers are there, for the cost involved. So Delhi government as such has given something called subsidy. So basically the subsidy means for a cost of a vehicle, some percentage will come from the Delhi government. Let's say it's a 1 lakh rupees vehicle, probably 30,000, 35,000 government will give to the company, but company will get its 1 lakh rupees. So the owner or the buyer has to pay maybe 65,000 rupees. So in that way, it is promoting the sale of EVs among all classes of people. Okay, so there is some more question is there. Let me see. See, somebody is asking, can recent two-wheelers be, the currently available two-wheelers can be upgraded to electric vehicle? See, it can be. Let's say now there is something called conversion kits. So let's say if you go to any E-Mart or something, you can actually we see that a lot of students convert their at least a bicycle to a electric one. So you can buy a battery and a conversion kit which costs around 2 to 3,000 rupees. Battery is costlier, of course, but you can easily convert. It's very easy. It's just a 1 hour job, and so that is possible. For a bicycle, it is fine. But when you talk about a two-wheeler, uh, so because you have to see the vehicle dynamics of the two-wheeler. See, generally a petrol or diesel engine based vehicle is a heavy vehicle. So heavy and so but we have to see that the vehicle designed for EV based vehicle should be very light. It should be the shape should be aerodynamic in nature. All these things should be seen. Otherwise, your the mass of the vehicle and the air drag will eat up the battery energy. So actually, it's not a good idea to convert an existing two-wheeler to a electric one. You can try that actually, but I hope you have to do the calculations whether it's a cost effective at the end of the day. There are some more questions. Actually, I don't know whether you're able to hear me.
Sir, what is the main reason for higher cost of this electric vehicle? Suppose if we purchase a four-wheeler like Tata Nexon and all that, it starts from 12 lakh onwards. So which one is the costly part actually? Because of that, the cost of this vehicle is e-vehicle is much more compared to the conventional vehicle. Yeah.
The main cost is the battery cost. So is roughly for 30 to 40%. In a vehicle, the cost of battery is the highest.
And sir, how much is safe? Because it's a like kind of a bomb actually.
No.
Battery.
Yeah. Matlab, in some sense, actually, let's say if there is innovation like that. See, matlab, you agree with that. It's not a bomb. Actually, actually, if it's a hydrogen-based vehicle, I can understand.
Hmm.
Because there, like a lot of safety is required for. But battery, I think things are much better. See, so battery will not explode. I hope. Yeah. So the concern is well taken because so you might have heard that the lithium-ion batteries are prone to temperature rise. So that is very true. Especially the battery packs of lithium ion cells has to be very nicely done, nicely packed. You cannot pack it just like that. It has to be packed by with suitable heat sinks. And the temperature sensor and the temperature control is a must in lithium battery based battery pack. Okay. So that is a must. Otherwise, temperature can shoot up and it can fire up, but it will
Yeah.
not blast, I hope.
During the battery session, it was, the discuss that, if there are, not proper precautions are taken care, then, it can blast. So now I have my two-wheeler actually available. It's e-vehicle, a battery operated
Okay.
bike I have. So I opened the entire that battery section and the circuits, but I could not find, much safety features in that. But it is still working now. Since last 2 years, it is working fine. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Actually, we should promote it. Yeah, but you should, if let the customer doesn't give, at least the owner of the vehicle should be careful about those things. Yeah, it's a risky thing somewhere. It actually there can be fire, but explosion. I hope it may not be there.
We are taking all the cares. That means the charging time and all that. But it's not automatic actually. If we can design some charger which can control the charging current and so on, then it will be much better because the manufacturer has not taken that much care actually. It should charging should stop automatically whenever the charging is over. And that type of chargers are if there are such type of chargers are then that such problems will not occur. And
Yeah,
one
I
more
agree
thing,
with
sir,
you.
I would like to ask, suppose if I design a fast charger for that vehicle, because at present I require 8 hours to fully charge my battery. So suppose if I design one charger to first for the fast charging of that vehicle, whether it will affect the life of battery or not?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. See, actually, I will come to the first question also. It is related. See, it is always advisable, even in the normal batteries. Let's say we buy for UPS application or something. It's always advisable to buy the charger from the same manufacturer who has built the batteries. Let's say you're buying from Exide or any other company, you have to buy the charger also from that company and for the particular battery type. See, what is actually that what mistakes generally done is like you will buy even the manufacturers will buy battery from somewhere like where you get cheap, maybe imported cheaper ones, and charger is from somewhere. There is no correlation. So that generally what is happens is nowadays a good battery pack will have BMS inside the battery. So BMS will not be outside. It's a part of the battery. So battery has an intelligent BMS within the battery pack, and that BMS will be talking to charger. So when you connect the charger, they will be talking to each other. And so they're proper, all these things what you are telling will be taken care. So this some kind of standardization has to come in the future. Otherwise, like when we go for cheaper things, they give surprises. So you are saying that you want to design a fast DC charger. So means like you should know the chemistry of the battery. Like you're
Yes,
trying
sir.
to, you're trying to force a higher DC current or something like that. And so how the battery chemistry is
Yeah.
behaving on that, it's not independent. Means like, so
Okay.
you may be trying to
All
charge
right.
it very fast, but temperature will go up surely, right? It's not so if you and
Yes.
so actually you can, for the research purpose, you can do that, and you can see the temperature rise. Let's say if you do from your charge, the available charger from the market, what is the current rise? Sorry, temperature rise, and from if you slightly try to increase at a higher DC current, what temperature rise you can see. It can be, it can be research, but it all depends on the chemistry of the battery, how it will behave.
Sir, when I was going through that specification of Tata Nexon car, in that they have given two options. One is regular charge, so it requires about 8 to 10 hours to charge the entire battery, and another one is
Mhm.
a fast charging mode. So in that fast charging mode it can charge only within 1 hour. So I know the battery is same. So how there are two different modes are possible?
Yeah, actually, I don't know. You are saying for the same battery that both options are available. So
They have
it
given in
means
their specification itself. Yeah, yeah.
so it means that the battery is capable of doing DC fast charging. It just means that, and so that charger, so the charger may be costlier in that case.
Actually, they are providing onboard charging unit. So
Mm-hmm.
on the highways, whenever we are on the highways, we
Mm-hmm.
may have some halt somewhere and then we can charge it.
Mm-hmm.
But the 1 hour halt is compulsory if you are
Mm-hmm.
driving more than 300 kilometers. And suppose if you want to charge your car at home, then you use your normal charging. That means 8 hours. So
So
what options
basically,
they
the
have given actually?
battery chemistry is capable of doing fast charging. Okay, but you can always do a slow charging. Slow charging anyway will not harm anything. So it means that the battery they have put in the BMS they have put is capable of doing, and they what kind of current thermal management they have done is capable of doing fast charging. It just means that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let me read some more questions coming in the chat window. How it can be increased tractive effort for large capacity load carrying. So tractive effort, see there are two ways of doing it. Let's say first is you increase the size of the torque of the battery. Sorry, torque of the electrical machine I am talking about. So so tractive effort is just torque. So when you talk about force, it has to be met by the torque of the motor. Now, let's say you're saying that let the motor is fixed for a EV. Now you want to increase uh, active effort. So one way is like if you can't do much about the battery or the electrical machine and the vehicle is still same, you can try for having a gear. So gear can multiply the torque, but your speed will be sacrificed. So if that is okay for you, let's say for a large capacity load, if you are willing to go slow, then you put a gear ratio, suitable gear. So actually, I don't know like why participants are not speaking. uh, uh, so I hope I am able to, I think this question was from Annai Theresa. Hello. Actually, I want participants to be more interactive.
Sir, which motor is better for actually two-wheelers? At present in two-wheelers, mostly the DC motor is being used, and in four-wheelers, synchronous motor or induction motor they are using. So, ultimately, which motor is better for this e-vehicle?
See, so for a two-wheeler, which is very small power application, so we go for either PMDC. Uh, PMDC type is easy to easy to control in some sense, and either and the BLDC. So BLDC and PMDC are the motors which are used up to 6, 7, 8 kilowatt. After 8 kilowatt, basically you can say that is a transition also from two-wheeler to three-wheeler and three-wheeler to four-wheeler. So that transition happens around that, after 5 kilowatt. So basically once you start the power, the power level of the machine is increasing, it's better to go from BLDC to PMSM. Because BLDC, see, both BLDC and PMSM are permanent magnet machines, so they are high efficient machines. So there is no problem. But BLDC has a trapezoidal back EMF, and because of that, there is a torque oscillations and heating and all will start. So, and you, as you go to higher power level, you want more performance, better performance. So PMSM, surface mounted PMSM is starts coming out after 7-8 kilowatt. So induction machines are also there. Induction machines the efficiency is a concern, but like people are looking for rotor copper bar based induction machines where the efficiency can be pushed at least to 90-91. But for PM machines, the efficiency is possible. So 94-95% efficiency is possible in PM machines, and that's why people go for that, even though it's costly. But if you look for Indianization of the country made or something, the induction machine is not a bad option, but you have to sacrifice on the efficiency. And other options are coming which are non-PM type is switch reluctance motor and sync reluctance motor. So switch reluctance motor is another option which is picking up because it's a non-PM type machine, and it can be easily manufactured in India, and even you're not depending on imports from other countries for the magnet side. Maybe next participant, please. So there's one question: what are the research areas, especially in power electronics, converter in electric vehicles? So basically, I have seen. So I don't know who is asked this question. I think so there are a lot of questions. I think. Somebody saying my voice is not audible. Can you hear me? Actually, I will directly speak from my. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are clearly audible.
Because actually, I maybe so earphone, sometimes gives problem. So I will directly speak. There is no noise around. So somebody is asking good questions like whether this EV is suitable for rural areas where you don't have any charging units nearby. So like farmers and all that. Actually, I just want to say here that there's somebody from that Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR. So they have approached me, and I said, what agriculture has to do with electric vehicle. But what they're trying is like, farmer used, small vehicle for digging the mud for making that, way for the seeds. So they do it manually. Okay, so manually, and it depends on the kind of the soil you have. It takes a lot of effort. So if you don't have a ox tractor or something, or if you have a where you want to do manually, so what they have done is like they are using the same that mechanical arrangement which makes that hits the soil and it breaks it. So for that they are using the motor. They are using a BLDC motor and they are using a battery. So it's a kind of it's so the total. So it's a kind of electrical machine assisted that instrument. Actually, I forgot the name of the thing. It's used by farmers. So whatever the effort by the farmer will will reduce, and they are also basically they are planning to give it to farmers, and where this battery can be charged from solar or something. So it's a full thing. So I think somebody can approach it ICR actually, especially not actually for rural application. I think why electrical cars are needed. But if we can assist the farmers in some kind of agriculture related thing, it's always so it can assist. Actually, it cannot be fully. It can not fully replace the thing. Yeah, somebody is asking, can we design the induction machine by using different electrical steel? Yeah, actually it can be. I think we have Professor Beep Singh here in IIT Delhi. He works on some kind of design of electrical machines. Actually, I don't work. So he is developing. Some of the students are developing motors which with amorphous and material and all those things. So or he's he's seeing a increase in efficiency and all. See, another thing I maybe if somebody okay, if the discharge the battery is very fast, the life of the battery gets affected. Yeah, surely. Yeah. So a battery is designed for a particular charging and discharging rate. Generally C5 or C2. So I think it's important. So these are important things. The charging rates are important. In India, any electrical charging stations are there? Yeah, there are many. Actually, now if you especially Delhi, Chandigarh highway, there are a lot of charging stations they are putting. And if especially actually this charging things are actually I've seen better in the south, especially cities like Trivandrum, and especially actually the highway from Coimbatore to Bangalore. They are putting a lot of charging stations. So it's coming up, and also in the Pune Bombay highway. So they are putting charging stations there.
Sir, that is how this they are charging actually because is there a different mode like slow charging, medium charging, or high charging where in that case it requires less time to charge? So is there charging time or what is that actually?
See, charging rate depends on how. If you want to increase the charging rate, the battery should be capable of doing that. It should have a good thermal management, and you cannot just charge any battery with fast charging. So, and secondly, I think that actually the question is very pertinent. What to do now? We don't have time for charging. We cannot spare so much time for charging. So what is the way out? So there are 2-3 answers for that. Basically, so one is that some speaker might have talked about battery swapping technology. So basically, battery swapping is very very good in cities. Actually, especially it can be very useful. Let's say, actually how the two-wheelers people are doing that. So I was associated with the company. So what they so when they sell the vehicle, actually the battery is very nicely packed in a suitcase kind of thing, which is sitting in a two-wheeler, basically a Honda Activa kind of that shape. So where you put your legs, it's beside beneath that that suitcase kind of battery will be there. Okay, so that you can take it out in the evening and go home. Just open it, take it like a suitcase and go. So they give two pieces. So what it does is like so one you keep at home for charging. Okay. So let's say if you go in the evening to house and still you want your battery is all dried up, but you still want to go to shopping or something, you take out the battery which is kept at home. So it will be charged in the day. So basically they are saying that a alternate battery, but that is not possible everywhere. Let's say you cannot keep two for a car kind of thing. You cannot keep two battery thing. So a battery swapping is a technology which has to become, like there is no other way, where you will not own the battery. Battery will be owned by somebody. Let's say battery will be owned by Bharat Petroleum, BP, or Indian Oil. So you will just go give the battery and take the next battery. It will take 5 minutes to change the battery pack. Like they will take out your present thing and they will put it. So in that case, owner will be not you. Owner will be them. So they should be having a battery which is very smart. Smart means that will have a BMS inside the thing. It will have a GPS, means they can even track where a battery is going. And so a lot of money you have to fixed deposit you have to give to them, so that in case you run away from the battery, there will there's no issue. So this kind of technique should be adopted. And another thing what I want to tell, I feel that so we should not directly move from fully IC engine based to electric vehicles. So there is basically that you should have a kind of small engine in the electric vehicle. I feel that I'm not sure if it's a correct thing. See what happens. Let's say when you go for a longer distance, you always have that anxiety that my battery will dry up and I will be in the middle of the road or something like that. So that small engine should be in the place, 10% of the end, so that it can take a petrol as a input. It can run a small electrical motor with that small engine, and it can charge the battery. That possibility should be there. Well, you will use it or not, it depends on situations. But that facility, if you can incorporate in a small 4-wheeler or 3-wheeler, the owner of the vehicle will be, so he will decide whether to charge the battery from the grid or from the petrol. Let the decision made by him. But people will start using petrol more than charging the battery. So this is the thing. Any other question, please? Yeah, somebody is asking that how the charging affects the electrical grid. Yeah, it surely affects, So there's an important research area in power system area where, where let's say people are putting fast charging stations. If you're putting a fast charging station, it is drawing a lot of high DC current, so that everything has to come from grid. And whether the grid is ready for that kind of loads, which are spiky in nature. So it's all also depends on what kind of charger you use. So there can be a charger which is which follows grid code. Grid code means like it will be taking very nice sinusoidal current from the grid. But there can be a cheaper a diode rectifier based charger, so that will take a very harmonic current from the grid, and which is not nice for the grid on the power quality side. But on the load side also, like there should be some kind of there's a lot of policy which is coming up, still the government is talking like, if we put a charging station, like how it will affect my transformer, how will it affect my charge, whether we can afford that such kind of peaky currents. Those things. So if somebody can do research on those things, it's a kind of helpful for the policy makers. Actually, I'm looking at the questions, but if there's any more questions. Somebody's asked some questions. A single motor or individual motor. Basically, so probably I understand this question. This question is whether, like, so this is what the technology which most of the like Tesla and other companies are offering. Is it's like that each wheel of the vehicle is having its own motor. So there where the technology is nowadays, and so that actually that should be adopted. But so it is more efficient because you don't have a differential, you don't have gears and all those things. That will save on the efficiency. But when you have a two motors on a two wheels, the turning, the speed, torque sharing, it's called torque vectoring. Because earlier the differential was the device which helps in turning the vehicle, and providing the differential in speed and differential in torque such that the vehicle can nicely turn. But if you don't have a differential and have individual motors in individual wheels, then the torque vectoring has to be done by a controller, a coordination controller, and which is very very complex. So this flexibility comes with the complexity. So that some research is also going on in India. Basically, in some of the IITs are putting effort. Can we develop multi-wheel driven multi-machine multi-wheel driven vehicle? It's called in-wheel basically. Any more questions? Yeah, please. Which motor is efficient? So PM motors are more efficient because so PM machines are always about 93, 94, 95%. Induction machine maybe maximum you can go to 90. And SRMs are all 85 to 90. These standards for charging the battery and all upcoming actually. So actually you can talk, actually if you want to understand more about this, you should contact ARI, basically Automotive Research Association of India, which is in Pune. So these are the agencies which are the regulation kind of agencies. So if you go to their website, probably and you can talk to them if you want to understand more deeper into this. Yeah, switch. Somebody is asking how suitable switch electric motor. Switch electric motor is very promising. Basically, for EV application, actually, a lot of people are looking into it. And my student is also wish to work on that. So basically, there is a company in Bangalore which has launched some of the basically tractor kind of thing with switch electric motor. So he is asking whether how it is, electric vehicle is will perform if there is a rain and all that. Yeah, means see, there is something called IP protection. IP means ingress protection. Ingress means the humidity or increases. So so when you make a power converter or a electrical machine, it has to be IP protected. IP65 and all those things are there. So if you meet those standards, then it will not have much problem. But definitely, there's a lot of electrical connections. Batteries are there. So how those are, actually, if it's a kind of general connection people have done without taking the rain or humidity into picture, then it will have problems. But if it is properly taken care, like even in the connectors, even in the wires, if all ingress protection is there, then it should not be. But it become costly actually if you do a lot of these things. So yeah, for actually this battery, so we all look at lithium ion battery, but now like a lot of uh, if you want to manufacture those, we have to import lithium and the materials from outside India. So let's say, so people are looking for alternatives also in the battery. So we have in our chemical department, people are looking for new kind of batteries like redox batteries, and there's called carbon foam batteries. A lot of research is going on where raw material can be available in our country. But there's a lot of talk. Actually, I don't know how it is. How it is in the actually people are looking for hydrogen-based vehicles in the future. In next 2 decades, I think there's a lot of research going on. Actually, is actually in terms of you know performance and everything. Hydrogen is the most efficient in terms of fuel. And so if they can take care of the hydrogen protection, storage and all that, next 20 years, maybe the hydrogen will take over EV. Seems that what is talk is going on and maybe it is. So actually in the, and it is very, you have to only how to store the hydrogen and how to make it safe. But other than that, it is more environmental friendly in terms of chemicals and battery has a lot of disadvantage in terms of chemicals and what to do after it is completed its life, how to dismantle it.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. D.R. Srinivasan, JNT Calcutta, sir.
Uh-huh. Yeah, please. Yeah, I think. If somebody is asking about SOC estimation, so there are a lot of algorithms for SOC. Basically, if you want it to be more and more better, you have to go for kind of observers. So basically, actually, some people from control area which are working. So basically, you have to sense naturally. You have to sense currents and voltages, and basically, you should have an algorithm where it can even predict a lot of things like how the charging is going on, how the charging rate is going on, and you can even predict temperature thing. So a lot of forecasting is also done based on SOC estimation. somebody is asking how dual fuel mode, like if you're using two fuels. So basically, in my lecture, I always tell that so even one battery is not suitable for one type of battery is not suitable for EV sometimes. So some batteries are good at specific energy, some batteries are good at specific power. So specific power is required, for giving very fast energy. Let's say initially when you want to ramp up, when you want to pick up, you need the rate of change of energy is you require is very high, which is specific power. So some batteries are very good at specific power. Some batteries are good at specific energy. Means specific energy means they can store a lot of energy and can go a larger distance. So the hybrid batteries or hybrid mode of energy storage is a need of the hour. So basically, but you know how to handle it. Like you should have let's say a fuels. So fuel cell cannot work without batteries. So fuel cell, the disadvantage is like it cannot store energy. So it is like you generate the energy and use it. Okay. But let's say when you want to do the regenerative energy, when you want to use the braking energy for charge, recover the braking energy, fuel cell is not capable. And fuel cell is a high specific power kind of device. So a battery is anyway required in a fuel cell. Maybe a smaller amount, but it is required. Now, like you should have a good power electronics to talk between these two devices. You should have a DC-DC converters or bidirectional DC-DC converters talking between these two devices and all those things. And this is one of the important area of research: how to use two types of batteries, or fuel cell plus battery, or ultracapacitor plus battery. How to use them together in a. Yeah. So now a lot of research is going on. One in the charger application, charging power electronics, and secondly the bidirectional DC-DC converter. So basically in Caltech and the places, a lot of specific is going on how to have very efficient DC-DC bidirectional DC-DC converter, and with silicon carbide devices, and we will make it compact and a lot of things. So, but it's all hardware oriented.
Sir, good morning, sir. This is Mr. Elisha. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Sir, this is Mr. Elisha from Vasavi College of Engineering, Hyderabad. I have one question, sir, regarding the design of electric vehicle. But if I want to design electric vehicle on a prototype model, so what are the steps I should consider, sir? Because it is consisting of the mechanical transmission also. So should I look at?
So you are looking for two-wheeler or three-wheeler?
Four-wheeler, sir, actually.
Okay. At like what power level means? Let's say it's a kind of alto type or smaller.
Yeah, only prototype, sir.
Prototype means like power level. Still, you have to think, right? So power level means like say let's say it's a medium power level or high power level. So basically, let's say. So even you want to design the mechanical things. Okay, so basically you are designing how to design the shape of the vehicle or something like that.
Exactly, sir. Overall, that is because it is having so many areas like power electronics, motor controlling, as well as mechanical systems are also there. So how can I?
Yeah, actually, I will advise you. Let's say, are you working in a college or something?
Yes, sir. I'm working as an assistant professor, and also I'm a research scholar. I'm working in bidirectional DC to DC converter, sir.
Okay, good. See, okay, if you're a student, then it's a different thing. Okay, if you're a faculty, then so okay. But I'm saying that see, you should not try on your own. Actually, if you want to do from scratch, see, you should have a colleague from aeronautical background and one colleague from mechanical department. You should do that. why I'm saying that you don't take all the load of the making the vehicle on your own. See, like otherwise it will be a lot of work.
Exactly, sir.
See, and see what generally people, actually, especially Indians are not good at that. It's like that, I'm sorry, I'm making some statement, but no, we should work in collaboration. Because why actually you should worry about your power electronics and electrical machines. Why you should worry about how the things are connected. And so a good team should make it, and otherwise you will be you will do a lot of headache on your shoulders, and basically it's not a good idea. So you take a help of mechanical guy. You tell him that this is the thing. Probably actually, and then a mechanical guy also can. They know vehicle dynamics very well. So they generally have a subject called vehicle dynamics.
Exactly, sir.
And even how the chassis should be, how the gear should be connected, how the differential is connected. They study all these things. And actually, an aeronautical guy or a will help you to design the I think you may not be want to do that. Actually, aeronautical may not be required. Uh, but then let's say one of my students is working on this kind of thing. So I always tell him to you go to the workshop, you go talk to mechanical people. You don't take all the load on your own. So he is making a chassis, and then a hub motor he is using as a tire and all those things. So I said you don't take all the tension. We should have the right kind of people who, and then so you do that way. That's what I was actually. Otherwise, no, you will if your mechanical system is not very good, your all effort will go in vain.
Yes, sir.
So you get hold of a mechanical guy.
Yes, sir. Sir, my one more question is, can we use artificial intelligence as well as machine learning in the field of electric vehicles, sir?
So see, actually in batteries everything is used nowadays. In if you basically where a lot of estimation is where people use this kind of things to make system more intelligent. But actually, I don't know how to use these things. But I'm reading some papers where they started using this kind of techniques. Basically, these techniques are more data oriented, right?
Yes, sir.
So if you have a lot of data, what to do with that? How to you make use of that data? So if you have a lot of data, let's say in SOC estimation, or let's say if you model a system, if you want to make a system more intelligent, then there where these techniques are used. Actually, how I know is like so. Actually, there's some two-wheeler EV. He wants to put a lot of IoT and all those things in his vehicle, for selling purpose. So what they're doing, like they will have a camera uh, in the two-wheeler, okay, and it will have a GPS. So as the vehicle is moving, he has a lot of information. So what to do with the information? So some kind of real-time information he is gathering, and he's now thinking what. So that information will sometimes very useful to someone. Uh, Maybe traffic conditions, maybe the road conditions. I don't know where's people see. Some actually a lot of things are useful for. So there they are using this machine learning and all those things. But in batteries only it can be used. I think most of the battery is a non-linear device, and once you how to charge and discharge at different rates, how can how can you use that information to predict? Uh, yeah. Sorry, that's what I.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. In South Zone, actually, IIT Madras is doing very well. So, because they are doing extremely well in this EV domain, so basically they have a research park. So in the research park, they have a center of excellence in battery technology. They have a center of excellence in electric vehicles. So Aether, you know, the Bangalore-based Aether two-wheeler is. So they have done all their research in IIT Madras. So IIT Madras is a really place to be in if you want to know more about these things. Ashok Chunjunwala and his group.
Very good morning, sir.
Uh-huh.
Yes, sir, I'm calling. I'm city Odisha. Sir, I actually am working on distribution planning area, and lot of paper are coming nowadays. Literature are coming on demand side management and EV integration in the distribution network. So, sir, just wanted to know in practically how that EVs are going to help in demand side management and in energy management, sir. You can put some light on that topic, sir.
Yeah, actually, I mostly work on motor drives and power electronics. So I have less understanding on the distribution level. But what I know is like future, those things are will become very important. See this EV, EV, maybe four-wheeler actually, will have a battery. So basically, you can say small power storage. A vehicle is a small power storage unit. So if there are a lot of like it, lot of vehicles, so if they are all connected to grid, you have so many batteries connected to a grid, right? So that's how we can think of a fleet of EVs connected to a same grid. It's a separate, source. Basically, you can say such a huge uh, uh, batteries, a small battery, let's say a small battery is connected to one vehicle and there are 100 vehicles, then so many batteries are connected to the grid. But it requires that battery should be talking to grid in a bidirectional mode, that's G2V, vehicle to grid. Those pictures should be there in that car. If there's a lot of these things, so people are talking about power aggregators. Means let's say let's say if you own an electric vehicle, you will come and you will connect your uh, electric vehicle to some grid, okay, and that grid will have hundreds of that cars, and you will not own your you will give that your control of your car to somebody. So there will be power aggregator which has hundreds of cars uh, in his control. And power aggregator will be talking to distribution people. Okay, do you have surplus power? So when they have surplus power in the night. So you will charge the batteries in the night time. And let's say if you're not using the batteries in the daytime, that power aggregator can sell it to electric companies. Because you already stored, so it can be used in flattening that power demand time. So so actually when you read this V2G, G2V, this power aggregator, how the power aggregator will, how many cars he has, how he's talking to distribution, and so those things are, I think, in that research area. I hope I have able to tell you. Hello?
Yes, sir, yes. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Somebody is asking very good question. Is the EV suitable for hill areas? Yeah, it's a very good question because the normal EVs are not good for hill applications. So you have to make a EV separately for hill application. In application, what happens? There is a lot of elevation. Elevation means slope. So the slope means you require a lot of torque to go up. You require more torque than the speed. So those things are slightly different. So the vehicle should be specially designed for hill applications. So you require more torque than the speed. So the normal vehicle you should not take it to the hills. Otherwise, it is not designed for that. Or if you want to use it, then you have to, let's say if your normal vehicle is there, if you want to use for hill application, you have to put a gear in between the motor and the transmission system so that torque is more compared to the speed available in the wheels. So that is a some kind of small re-engineering, but that is not not all vehicles. Let's say if you have seen that in our normal hill stations, our normal vehicles are not suitable. Like you should have a let's say what is called it? A gypsy. The gypsy from Maruti, especially designed for hill applications. So I have gone to one hill station. All the vehicles are gypsy, Maruti, because they are designed for high torque kind of. But normal vehicles cannot go to such elevations. So it's not just you should not use it. Any more questions, please? Somebody is asking scope of integrated charger. Yeah. So basic integrated charger. Actually, I don't know what you mean. But I know something like how what they do. See, you have a DC, and let's say if you have a AC motor, you have a DC to AC inverter, what you call. So a battery, DC link, then an inverter, then an electric motor, right? So you have already a power electronics, the DC to AC for running your motor. Naturally, if you're no, so can we use that inverter for charging also? The answer is yes. Some companies are looking at this. Let's say, but the condition is like you are not using your motor while you are charging. So that inverter is anyway ideal. It's free. So why not reconnect that? So that is basically, if you see from motor side, it's AC to DC converter also. It's a DC to AC and is AC to DC also is a bidirectional, because you use that inverter which is run the motor for recovering the braking energy. So it's possible to do DC to AC conversion. Why not use that for charging from the grid? Let's say you have a three-phase grid, you use that for charging the battery. Then you reconnect that inverter for running your motor. So that all possibilities are there. People are looking at it. You can save the charger cost, but the charger will be inside the vehicle. So onboard charger. So, and even people are thinking how to use the inductance, of the motor as a filter. Because when you do the AC to DC converter, you need a filter, inductor. So that motor inductance, can we use it? Something, some very interesting research. If you can.
So there is a question, someone is asking whether universal charger can be made.
No, actually, I don't know what is meant by universal charger. Can I get more? Oh, actually, I told what I know. So, universal charger means?
Professor D. Karthik, can you please elaborate what you wanted to mean by universal charger? D. Karthik Prabhu, you have asked a question. Can you please elaborate? Sir is asking.
Okay. The prototype 2. See, there is a word definitely. You have to have the, you have to buy the battery. You have to buy it. Let's say if you want to buy a existing two-wheeler.
Sir,
हाँ बताइए.
Dynamic charging at present in India.
Sir, I am not able to get your full question.
So what is the scope of the dynamic charging in EV vehicles in India? So is it under research or it will be in the...
No, actually it's a very high-end kind of system. Very high-end, right, sir? Like, why actually nobody is looking for, developing a road where you actually, first of all, the EV deployment itself is a challenge. Like dynamic charging comes long after that, right? So I don't think anybody is doing research in that area. Actually, people are developing chargers like contactless chargers and all those things are there, where you don't have to physically connect a connector. Like you don't want to do conductive charging, you want to do inductive charging. So those researchers are going on, develop coils and how to put resonant converters on for charging through that contactless coils. Those kind of research are going on, but not on move and charge kind of thing. Because I think it's not for research purpose, academic purpose people can do, but how to check it, so there very interesting research can happen. It's not feasible for India right now. Yeah. So basically, any car should be able to charge from any charger. So there is something called charging protocol. Right? That's why the protocols are there. Protocols means, let's say, the EV company which launches a EV should follow a protocol. So basically charging protocols are a very interesting area of research. Basically, the people from communication areas are working on those things. So if you see the charger, right? How the charger's connectors looks like. So if you see the charging connectors, no, there are different kind of charging connectors. See CHAdeMO and a lot of other names actually. So when they connect, no, so it's not only 3 wires or 2 wires which is connected. They have a bunch of communication. So when you connect, it has to be connected properly. So there will be two-way communication. So there will be some communication thing in the battery, in the BMS or whatever, and there it will be talking. First of all, they will talk. Everything is connected. Are you ready to take charge? A lot of information sharing will be happening. Then only charging will start. So, so any company car can be charged from any. So charger also has to have that protocols. The EV company which launches the EV also should have those protocols. Otherwise, you cannot launch. So those things are there in place. So this communication people are doing a lot of research actually. Say related to communication. For final year students, actually, even like you can give a two-wheeler, you can give even a bicycle. Like how to convert a bicycle to electric bicycle. That itself is a good project. Like let's say if you have a small motor, how to connect, how to do. Actually, it's an interesting thing to convert every bicycle as a EV electric bicycle. How can we do? How can we? It can be battery assisted. You will pedal your, but it will be add-on. Like the rest of the energy, if you are very tired, probably you can take the energy from the battery. But otherwise, you can run by your legs itself. So those kind of then you have to make a small for that. Let's say if you use a PMDC type of motor, you need to have a battery. Then you have to make a small buck converter, which is bidirectional buck converter. So you have to make you have to make a small MOSFET based inverter. Then you have to have a small microcontroller, which will be, it will, so those kind of small projects actually, what, let's say if you go for two EV wheeler, it's a big project. And then actually where the what students, they will buy everything, from the market. And so charger is available from the market, power converter is available from the market, everything is available. They only connect. So the learning is less. But if you have a small converter for bicycle also, convert the bicycle to electric bicycle, it's still a good project. At least they will do the soldering of the MOSFET. They will make a small controller which will sense something. Will sense the So there is a throttle. So when you so that throttle comes in the market. So if you so that will give a signal. So that signal will go to microcontroller. It will say, okay, increase in torque command, so that it will increase the current level of the current controller which is there in your microprocessor, and will turn on the MOSFET for so much time. That's a nice thing. Yeah, you can convert the existing car to EV car, but like the present cars which are available, they are actually it's a good idea to try as a for a. Actually, it's not for a product, but for a like some academic research or for hobby. Actually, you convert a old Maruti 800 or Alto to very, you can do that. Actually, it may not be very efficient, but for just for fun, you can do that. Because those cars are quite heavy, it's not suitable for a product level. Bidirectional converter charging system. Yeah, bidirectional means like which enables V to G and G to V. Let's say you can take the power from the grid to the battery, and from the battery also to the grid. So that you should have AC to DC converter, which is anyway bidirectional. It's not direct rectifier. So So the grid side converter should be bidirectional AC to DC converters. Then this possible is fine. There is possibility of grid to vehicle and vehicle to grid.
Any more questions you want to ask? Anyone, any more questions you are having? If you have no questions, then we can proceed to the official valedictory of this particular course. I think if there is no questions,
Yes, sir.
is there any questions? Anyone?
Yes, sir. Sir, is there,
Sure.
sir, actually, which are the basic difference between a normal car and electric vehicle car? When we converted a normal car to electric vehicle car, only we have to replace tank and we have to put battery or any other changes?
Yeah. No, you are converting a normal vehicle to electric vehicle, right? So yeah, you have to put a bet. Actually, you have to find out. So you have to. So in your transmission system, where the engine is connected to the gearing system, there you have to put a motor. And for motor to work, you have to put a power converter and a battery. Yeah. So the torque requirement of the electrical machine is important. So what is the torque requirement? So torque requirements, let's say one is that. Second is speed requirement. Speed requirement will decide the synchronous speed of the motor. Torque requirement will decide the torque rating, and the torque and speed will decide the power rating of the machine. And so for that power rating, you have to get a motor. That's it. Let's say 5 kilowatt motor. 5 kilowatt motor you have got. But 5 kilowatt motor, let's say what voltage rating? So generally when you go and buy a 5 kilowatt motor, it will be actually, you can see all are 415 volts 3 phase. But 415 volt 3 phase, where you will get from? So 415 to get from battery is difficult, right? You have to step up a boost converter required from battery. So battery you will be having is 48 and the machine is 415. So either you use a special machine, in a special induction machine or some machine which is 5 kilowatt, but the voltage rating is 48 volts. So generally, actually for this kind of things, the low voltage machines are available, which can run from a voltage battery. So those things are you have to take care. Is the hub motor suitable for EV? Very much. So hub motors are used for all two-wheelers, right? But for four-wheelers, then it will become an independent vehicle. Independent wheel is driven by individual vehicle, individual motor. So that's again, we are talking about multi-wheel drives. But for two-wheelers, hub motors are very much used and actually very good. You don't require any gear. I hope I have answered your question.
Sir, another question. Normally we are used to maximum cases boost converter for improving our output. But if we go for our range of operating by comparing boost converter and buck boost converter, the operating range in buck boost converter is more. but why we always use boost converter?
Actually, I'm not a suitable guy for answering this question. Actually,
Okay.
I don't work on DC-DC converters because I don't want to answer this question because experts should answer this question. So see, I work mostly on charging from AC to DC and on motor drives. Actually, my main area is motor drives, so I know everything about motor and motor drives. So, but for the DC converters, no, actually, it's a very specialized area. And you should ask a person who is good in DC-DC converters, because if I tell something, it may not be correct, and I don't want to harm anything. Give you a correct answer or a complete answer. Yeah. So
Thank you, sir.
sorry for that. Yeah.
Sir, for motor drive, which one is better, IGBT or a MOSFET?
It's not about IGBT or MOSFET. See, let's say when it all depends on a lot of things. Let's say when you talk about battery driven vehicles, so what is the voltage of the battery? So let's say daily voltage of the batteries are 48, 72, 96. That's all. Or up to 50 kilowatt. But for 50 kilowatt, if you have a DC link of 100 volts, let's say, using a IGBT is not a good choice. And secondly, let's say if you have a 10 kilowatt motor and a 100 volts DC link, what is the current you're talking about? You're talking about 100 amps current, right? 100 into 100 is 10 kilowatt. So, and you naturally want to switch at higher switching frequency. So IGBTs are generally high voltage devices, right? Switching frequencies you're limited to 10 to 15 kilohertz. When you're talking about 100 volts and you're talking about 100 amps and you want to go to switching frequency of 100 kilohertz, 200 kilohertz, MOSFET is a good choice, definitely. So IGBTs, who use? IGBTs are used by, people who use 200 kilowatt motor, where the DC link itself is 600 and battery packs are of 600 volts. So there, at the power level goes up, you cannot have a high switching frequency. You cannot switch. So that switching frequency automatically comes down and the voltage level goes up. There where IGBTs are more suitable. But for normal 100 volts battery pack systems, MOSFETs are the good thing.
Sir, one question, sir. Sir, regarding motor controlling, practically which motor controlling is used in electric vehicles? In two-wheelers, four-wheelers and three-wheelers, you take an example of induction motor or BLDC motor, which practical speed controlling technique is used?
It all depends. So in induction machine, we use field-oriented control.
Field-oriented, okay.
Actually, see, when you talk about 10 kilowatt plus, you have to use field-oriented control only.
Okay.
But for small things you can do, let's say for a two-wheeler thing, you use a PMDC or BADC. A simple controller can be enough, where you don't require current controller inside your thing. You can have a speed controller, that's enough. But when you want to go for higher performance, then you have to have a current controller within your control systems, and then you have to go for vector control kind of things. Yeah, but let's say when you talk about a bicycle or a small two-wheeler, so they don't even have a current controller. They just run with the speed controller and they will modulate the MOSFETs. That's all. You don't have an internal current controller. For a better performance, you should have a current controller. So like that. And they use DSPs actually. So for a product level, actually they want low cost microcontroller. So ST microelectronics and all those kind of Infineon microcontrollers, which are very small, very limited, very cheap, 50 rupees kind of microcontrollers. They try to use as low as possible. The problem is like that there is a competition with some kind of foreign countries where they are able to sell the controllers, everything in a very cheap cost. And so the companies in India actually are facing that issue a lot. If, they cannot go for TI kind of thing, TESA instruments. It's very costly. The cost of the controller itself becomes so much.
Is there any more questions? Any more questions, anyone or else? I'd like to welcome Professor Rajat Gupta, Director, NIT Mizoram, and Professor Saibal Chatterjee, Dean Academics, NIT Mizoram. We'll start the valedictory right now, though officially we have got little bit nitty-gritty left, which we'll do in the next part. But we'll do the valedictory. So I will welcome Professor Rajat Gupta, Director, NIT Mizoram, Professor Saibal Chatterjee, Professor Amit Jain, Department of Electrical Engineering, IIT Delhi, and so that we can start up with the official. We are yet to join by Professor Saibal Chatterjee. He is there.
Everybody, am I audible?
Yeah, yes, sir, you are audible, but your video is not
Yes.
visible.
Yes, actually, there is some issue.
Okay. So first I'd like to introduce our guest, Professor Rajat Gupta, Director, Professor Amit Jain from IIT Delhi, and Professor Saibal Chatterjee, Dean Academics, NIT Mizoram. We have done a very, very short program on electric vehicle, and as you all know, electric vehicle is a multidisciplinary area, and together that too in an online mode is very difficult to cover up and to gain a better exact. But I think you will definitely at the end of this course have got little bit of idea what the things goes and what the aspects. We have tried to bring in professionals who are working in the field of electric vehicles. We have got professionals from IIT Madras who are working with the electric vehicles, especially the mechanical design part and the electrical design part. From IIT Delhi, Professor Amit Jain and Professor Bhim Singh has elaborated how the things goes. We have got experts from MNIT Jaipur who has designed some electric vehicles. We have got a couple of stress management sessions which has been taken. I believe at the end of the day, you will gain something. So I will now request Dean Academics, Professor Saibal Chatterjee, to address this audience.
Thank you, Mr. Anand, the coordinator, and as well as HOD of the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Department for conducting this seminar. In spite of the issues what we are facing today all over the world, but at the same time, I feel that this COVID-19 has made us possible that this kind of session is being held where people from all over India are connected to each other. Though there are some with us, maybe this kind of course would have been better, which with a practical or a lab-oriented kind of thing. That is impossible in a very limited manner. Today, we are concerned with the mobility, and with that mobility, fossil fuel and the reserve of the fossil fuel. So electric vehicle is the order of the day. And as Mr. Onogo Bhattacharya has already said, that it is a multidisciplinary one, and since many of the disciplines from the IoT, even from the electronics, electrical, they are all connected to each other. And once we are talking about electric vehicles, chemical engineering is also very much connected with it. We are very indebted. NIT Mizoram is very indebted that Professor Anil Jail, Professor Bhim Singh have been able to connect with us, and their experience would be a very for us. I thank again for the coordinator. I thank the experts who made it possible, and at the same time the participants. I have seen around 80 participants are now present, and I'm sure very good success. I'm sure success.
Thank you, sir. I would request Professor Rajesh Gupta, Director, NIT Mizoram, to say something on this occasion.
Namaskar and good morning to all of you. At the very outset, I express my gratitude to the respected and honorable experts who took part in this 5-day program. I'm extremely grateful to the coordinator, Mr. Anagha Bhattacharya, for conducting this program. The program which started on 10th, I was there, and today also I'm here, and I could listen some of the lectures, including Professor Jain just now. I'm really thrilled to get all the information that, as you know, that the emerging area, the electric vehicle, is the order of the day, as Professor Chatterjee rightly mentioned. And it is interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, whatever you can say. And from our students, as well as the research scholars and the teachers, they can work on this electric vehicle. As you know that NIT Mizoram is very new institute, and we need support from professors like Bhim Singh, professors like Anil Jain and other experts. And this particular workshop or faculty development program is just a beginning. And relationship which has been developed now, I request my colleagues to continue and take the advantage of this relationship for the betterment of NIT Mizoram. I'm extremely grateful to AICTE for sanctioning this program. Not only this program, they have sanctioned 4 Atal programs for NIT Mizoram in this session. And this is the first program. Another 3 programs are in the offing. So once again, I thank all the experts, and also I thank all the participants for making the program a grand success. Thank you very much. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
Professor Amit to make some concluding remarks and on the topic electric vehicle, which he is an expert and teaches in IIT Delhi for the past 3 years. So I request him to make some concluding remarks on the topic and on this area.
I don't know what to say. See, it's good that participants have, heard from different experts across the country. So this area is coming up in terms of research, academics, and also in terms of job scenario. So what I will who are the participants? Most of the participants will be, faculty members from different institutes, or the research scholar who will be future faculty members. So when we started this course in IIT Delhi, so it's actually this semester also I am doing that. It's a very important course. Actually, you start, as a researchers or academicians, it's our responsibility to, share this kind of knowledge with our students, and it's a skill development under skill development domain, because we have to ready our engineers and give them some know-how of this area, so that when the lot of industries will come up, start manufacturing things, they need engineers, and they should have some basic understanding. So I will request those of people to start, doing research and teaching these courses in their respective institutes. In that way, we can pass on the basic knowledge in this domain to students, so that they can be ready for jobs. Anyway, actually, it's nice to hear from Dr. Saab and Professor Chatterjee. They have a very NIT Mizoram is looking to start programs in this area, and how to build up labs and all those things. Actually, all the institutes should do that. And so at IIT Delhi, we are trying to, so we have developed this course, and actually I have an NPTEL course on this subject for 10 hours. Actually, I'm doing some more video recording, so that whatever information we have gathered over the years, or whatever research we are doing, we are trying to pass it on. And it should be, further passed on to the students in the respective college. And actually, labs are important, because without the practical knowledge, it will be only theoretical. So nothing more. Basically, I'm just casually talking with all of you, and all the best, in your future career. And happy Deepavali. Actually, today is a very auspicious day for all of us. So thank you, and best wishes.
Thank you, sir. I request few participants to share their experience in this 5 days program. If anyone can come forward and have some experience shared on, I would request few participants to come forward and share their experience.
Hello, sir. Myself, Dr. C.H. Vitlani. I have already 2-wheelers with me, which is battery operated. Now I am thinking to purchase, 4-wheeler, which is battery operated. That's why, for knowledge purpose, actually, I joined this program. So that's why I got to, some of the knowledge about technology part of this e-vehicle during this program. Thank you very much for providing the opportunity to attend this program.
Hello, this is Dr. Sudha from Bangalore Institute of Technology, Bangalore. I was very much delighted to attend this webinar online session. We had very good talks by Professor Kannan, Ghosh, Mr. Amit Jain, and many such talks were really very good. They actually described about the designing of the motors. And since electric vehicles are coming in a grand way, it is very much relevant to the present situation. So learning about those design concepts, everything would really help in guiding the students and doing their projects, so that more and more people will come into this area. I thank the organizers of NIT Mizoram for organizing this event very successfully, and I wish them all the best for the future programs. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sudha. Anyone else, if you can? As we have highlighted that we are unable to do any lab or practical work because of this online mode. We are in touch with Mahindra and Mahindra. We are one of the pioneers right now in India in design of electric vehicles. But what in the process we understood that just to show some demonstration of their work won't actually help much rather than have some practical experience. So we moved on to the design aspects in battery in IIT Madras, whom they are working. So maybe next time if we have got the opportunity to meet and have some workshop in hand, that will give more fruitful because of the designing aspects. So with this, I thank all our dignitaries, Professor Rajat Gupta, Director IIT Mizoram, Professor Amit Jain, IIT Delhi, Professor Saival Chatterjee, Dean Academics, all the dignitaries and all the participants who have attended this session, and I wish them a happy Diwali, and thank you all for joining us. Though this is supposed to be the valedictory, but I have told you there are some nitty-gritties we need to follow as per the AICTE norms, like feedback, like dates and whatever are there. So again, we are assembling over here at 12:30 p.m. We are assembling right over here at 12:30 p.m. to proceed with those nitty-gritties. Thank you all. Thanks a lot for giving your wonderful time.
Thank you. Thank you. Wish you all a happy Diwali too. Thank you. Namaskar.
Namaskar.